What would you do if Pokemon were real? Well, it's plain to say that you probably don't have to think about this because I'm sorry to say they simply aren't. But while Pokemon aren't exactly real, per se, it's clear that the Pokemon world draws a large amount of inspiration from our own world. Some for the better, and some for the worse, and some resulting in questions about the Pokemon world that you might not want the answer to. What's up guys, Vidcomon here, and welcome to the next episode where today, in this video, we'll be exploring this very sentiment. Now, originating in 1996, Pokemon has become the largest media franchise in the world, grossing about 108 billion. That's right, I did say billion with a B. Hello Kitty is second at 88.5 billion, and it was only recently that Pokemon actually managed to beat it out. Hello Kitty is a little more obscure, but if you open your eyes a little more, you may start to notice that it is everywhere, especially in Japan. It sells everything from pencils to pencil cases to cups and cutlery. I mean honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if you could find a Hello Kitty fridge. But what it lacks, however, is any kind of substance. It's everywhere, but it's also nowhere at the same time. It lacks real personality. It just feels a bit empty. Hello Kitty has a strong ethos, but it has no story. In the words of Tom Sachs, a contemporary artist who has actually done lots of work on Hello Kitty is an icon that doesn't stand for anything at all. Hello Kitty never has been, and never will be, anything. She's pure license. This is where Pokemon differs, however, and why it has, and will continue, to reign supreme for the foreseeable future. Yes, it's true that Pokemon is just as oversaturated as Hello Kitty, and the branding is just as out of control. But Pokemon has a story, and it stands for something. Since its conception, Pokemon has not been solely about selling products, or, then again, maybe that's precisely what it is. Maybe it is just Hello Kitty to the 10th degree. But regardless, for the last 25 years, it has reflected and taken inspiration from our own world. But of course, our world is far from perfect, and as we know, so too is our world all about buying and selling. Now, as you guys must know, I love Pokemon, and although I don't live in their world, I've still been forming strong bonds with them in the virtual world. I've been completing my Pokédex, becoming champion, and keeping evil organizations at bay since I was a kid. What I never realized, however, is just how close their world is to ours, and that this entire time, they were making subtle commentary on our own ways of doing things. There's also a bit of a darker tinge to the franchise, and although, of course, I still enjoy playing them, and I still enjoy it all the same, it's something to think about. A new perspective on the ones who we always thought of as our innocent little friends. So without further ado, let's get into the story that you never knew existed. Pokemon was born out of the creator, Satoshi Tajiri, and his love for insect collecting, in which he imagined a world that would become fully centered around his hobby. And in many ways, the Pokemon world did, and still does, revolve around its creator's childhood. Everything in this universe revolves around catching Pokemon, collecting them, and battling with them. And, just like our world, the Pokemon world is teeming with creatures, in the oceans, on land, soaring high up in the skies, and even deep underground. There are patches of grass where trainers may randomly encounter strange and unknown creatures, and there are also dark forests and deep caves to explore even more. In many ways, the Pokemon world, with its sense of aliveness and diversity, reflects the biodiversity of the real world. And there are also substantial amounts of Pokemon that evolve only through trading, like Alakazam for example, making interactivity and working together a huge part of this universe. Really, on paper, it looks like a perfect version of our world. Pokemon and people live together harmoniously, or I guess somewhat harmoniously, I'm looking at you Team Rocket, forming strong friendships and both living and learning together. Ultimately, after 6 years of development, the first Pokemon game was released in 1996, and it absolutely took the world by storm. People loved it, and its success generated the expansion of the Pokemon world through its own anime, manga, and even movies. We'll begin with a narrative criticism, primarily of the anime, which is pretty much entirely seen through the eyes of our never-aging 10-year-old boy, Ash Ketchum. Now, as a side note, Ketchum is actually a play on words, meant to reflect the franchise's slogan, "Gotta catch 'em all." And Ash, his name, similar to Professor Oak, Professor Ivy, Elm, Birch, and many others, those are all actually names of trees. So that's a continuation of the franchise's close relationship with nature. But back to the story. Ash, he starts on his journey to become the best like no one ever was. In other words, he's in search of fame and glory and all associated riches. As his journey progresses though, Ash's partner Pikachu, although never literally evolves, it figuratively evolves, from simply being a vehicle for Ash's ambitions into something much more. It becomes his friend. Ash recognizes Pikachu, and of course others, not as mere possessions, but as living things. I mean, there are many examples of this growth. Ash first starts off only admiring the strongest of Pokemon, yet he saves this little Charmander. If you watch the anime, you'd know that this little Charmander was abandoned, literally left for dead by its previous trainer, because it wasn't strong enough. But Ash sees this poor little guy, nearly half dead, and rescues him. Poetically enough, actually, it ends up defeating its previous trainer and becomes incredibly strong. But still, Ash would have cared for him either way, and regardless, he still was, at least according to his previous trainer, very weak when he was abandoned. With that being said, the system is still incredibly flawed. That is, a system where Pokemon are both friends and companions, but also tools and goods at the same time. Ann Allison refers to it as Pokemon capitalism, and looks at the slogan of "gotta catch 'em all" literally as the game's sole objective of commodity acquisition, but also metaphorically. She says, catching stands for the player's relationship to this entire world. Access to this world comes through the medium of Pokemon consumer goods, and to keep access and interest alive, ever more goods cry out to be bought. And Pokemon, while pocket fantasies and portable pals, is at the same time, and in this very form, a currency of and for millennial capitalism. The Pokemon world is all about owning Pokemon, and it is especially easy to consider them as nothing but objects when you remember, especially in the games, that they hardly even speak. All they ever do is screech, and most of the time people refer to them not by name, but by the name of their species, or simply it. Poor Pikachu, right?
Pikachu.
Also, you catch them by the hundreds and slap them in a box. I know you're all guilty of this, so go ahead and show all those trapped Pokemon in your living deck some love. But like I said, even if the trainers are kind and loving, like Ash with that Charmander example, the system, no matter which way you look at it, simply is not. The Pokeball is literally a prison that is used to capture creatures when they've been weakened enough to lose their will to fight. Ever wonder why that Pokemon will refuse to get the ball when it's all healthy, but the second you get it down to 1 HP, paralyze it, put it to sleep, whatever, it has no choice. Without the Pokeball, there would be no, quote-unquote, pocket monsters, but just creatures walking around in the wild. Actually, now to think about it, a bit like the world we live in, right? But because of this Pokeball, the Pokemon universe, while appearing innocent, encourages a worldview of exploitation and abuse of its wildlife. The entirety of the Pokemon world is ethically compromised, and this is especially prominent in the first Pokemon movie, aptly titled Pokemon the First Movie. I'll play this clip here.
You humans are a dangerous species. You brought me into your world with no purpose but to be your slave.
So a little bit of background, since I'm sure many of you haven't actually seen the first Pokemon movie, but you probably know who Mewtwo is, right? This guy right here. Anyways, he was one of the first legendary Pokemon and actually was created in a lab by humans.
But now I have my own purpose. My storm will create my own world by destroying yours.
So you hate all humans, and you're gonna destroy us to save Pokémon!
No. Your Pokémon will not be spared. They have disgraced themselves by serving humans. Those Pokémon are nothing but slaves.
Now, Mewtwo actually sees through the veil of innocence that the Pokemon world emits, and in this clip, demonstrates that it despises the Pokemon system. It accuses both the trainers of being slave owners and traders, while their Pokemon are nothing more than just simply slaves. In another clip, the sheer hypocrisy of the Pokemon trainers are reflected as they attempt to paint Mewtwo as evil, when in reality, I don't really think he's wrong.
Pokemon aren't meant to fight. Not like this. It's useless. What can come out of it?
Nothing but pain.
Why can't Mewtwo understand it's not right to force Pokémon to battle this way?
They're all living creatures. This just proves that fighting is wrong.
So again, some background. Mewtwo, essentially using his psychic powers, forced some Pokemon to fight for him, but even so, that's pretty ironic, isn't it? Especially considering Brock and Misty, the way they make Pokemon fight isn't too different at all. So sure, what Mewtwo did isn't exactly right, but the trainers aren't the ones to be talking, are they? Now, sure, they have a bit more of a friendship with the Pokemon, but not everybody does, and does that really change things? I'll let you guys decide. But regardless, the movie ends on a lighter note as Pikachu objects to the notion that he is a slave and instead a friend. And to prove this, Ashton gets injured trying to protect him. Mewtwo sees this and decides that humans aren't that bad after all, and gives up. He ends with these remarks.
I see now that the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It is what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are.
A bit of a 180, isn't it? It seems the Pokemon Company tried to save face, and the hypocrisy that Mewtwo demonstrated was simply forgotten. But even so, Mewtwo does end by saying that humans and Pokemon aren't so different after all. So, are Pokemon slaves? Or are they friends? Or perhaps, are they both? Alright, so we know now that the Pokeball isn't exactly the most ethical of devices. And stop, I see you. I already know that you're typing your comment, but Pokemon are comfortable in Pokeballs. And while I guess that's true, that doesn't exactly justify it. Put a bow on a pig, and it's still a pig. If you were trapped in a really nice room with no hope to get out, you'd still be trapped in that room, wouldn't you? Now, that being said, the Pokemon world isn't all bad. There is still a glimmer of hope. Let's look at Pokemon Snap, for example, where here, the player is simply an observer. You play as a character called Todd, who is a photographer for the professor, simply going around and photographing free and wild Pokemon in their natural habitat. Catching and battling is not present at all in the Snap games, and actually it's specifically stated that this is done to preserve the biodiversity of the island. Actually, I guess I shouldn't say that catching is not present at all, because it is, but in a different way. One captures images of rare Pokemon, rather than the rare Pokemon itself. And honestly, wouldn't you say that this is just as, if not more rewarding? I mean, look at this Meganium I have here in Pokemon Snap. Doesn't it look far more alive than the Zacian I have in Pokemon Sword? I guess the main takeaway is that wildlife needs to be protected and respected from a distance. Be more like Todd, who admires them, and less like Ash, who exploits them. Pokemon really is a bit strange, isn't it? On one hand, it seems cute and innocent, but on the other, is it really? At face value, the relationship between Pokemon and people seems almost blissful, but the hypocrisy of this relationship is revealed in its exploitive history. So the question is, are Pokemon really happy? Are they really free? Well, with the information you got in this video, I'll let you decide. So thank you guys so much for watching this video where we had a bit of an interesting and different discussion. I've never really done a video like this, but while I was making it, I actually planned it to have a lot more information, but ended up cutting it down a little bit so it wouldn't be too long. So if you guys liked it, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment, and I can make other videos like this with the information that was cut. Still be very interesting. So anyways, again, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and stay tuned for the next episode.